good lord, where do I start with this kid? As per usual, major spoilers ahead for all 6 books in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Enoch O'Connor is a kid who runs entirely off spite, speaks fluent sarcasm, and has and will make fun of anyone for absolutely anything purely because it is a thing he can do. He curses the most, he's generally immense to society at any given time, and he's constantly covered in dirt, clay, or homemade formaldehyde for necromancy purposes. Kid's Nico D'Angelo if he was loud. He is also the fandom favorite, a problem I am 1,000% part of. He's the funniest in the room at any given time, especially when paired with Horace, who's heavily implied to be his best friend. If the two of them are in a scene together, one of them is being made fun of, or they're bickering like an old married couple. But that's a topic for another day. I could make a full video on that too proud to snuggle comment. While his second biggest strength is his sense of humor, the top spot has to be just how complex he is. Enoch is one of, if not the most complicated character in this entire series. On first glance, his character arc is the classic angry one learns not to be a jerk, but if you dig deeper into his character, it's not remotely that simple. In the first book, Enoch is curious about Jacob, not really leaning one way or the other about his presence in the loop, but at the very beginning of Hollow City, when Jacob is put in charge of the group's safety as the only one who can see the Hologast, Enoch is pissed about it. He goes on a full rant, actively shouting at Emma and Jacob for how stupid this decision is, stating, and I quote, "Just because there's a dash of peculiar blood in his veins doesn't make him my brother, and it certainly doesn't make him my protector." Contrast this with Jacob's descriptions of Enoch in the later books, playfully shoving or teasing him, Jacob describing those gestures as brotherly. Bronwyn may be the one more well-known for seeing the group as family, but Enoch's the first to bring it up. Enoch's the first to bring it up when the group in question is actively being threatened and their best hope of survival has known he has powers for a week. Maybe. It takes until after Jacob kills Cull the first time and all the way into A Map of Days, arguably Enoch's best book, for him to finally accept Jacob into the group. He doesn't lose or gain anything either. In the same book he yells at Jacob and Emma, he uses his peculiarity to comfort a little girl whose home is being bombed. And in the later books he gets so angry at other peculiars for criticizing the Imrans that he shouts at them and punches a door after. He never gained a sympathetic side or lost his hot-headedness and grumpy demeanor because his character arc isn't about learning to be nice. His arc is opening up to Jacob. He doesn't learn not to be an asshole, he learns that Jacob isn't a threat and gradually lets him into his circle, and eventually Jacob becomes one of the people he wants to protect. By the end of the series, I'd argue that he's closer to Jacob than even Emma is. Because he is so thought out and is quite literally willing to shove himself into the trunk of a car to not be left out of things, there aren't a whole lot of things that I can or want to criticize him about. The 2 things I will mention though, his graphic novel design and Enoch and love interests. The graphic novel thing is mostly me being an angry character designer. The books point out pretty frequently that Enoch's chubby, and in the graphic novels he's skinnier than I am, which gets rid of one of his more identifiable physical traits. That second thing, though, is one of my issues with the whole idea that everyone but Bronwyn needs a love interest. In A Map of Days, we're introduced to Miss Cuckoo, one of Miss Peregrine's closest friends, and an Imran about as old as she is. Everyone reacts pretty normally, except Enoch, who after spending 3 books with 0 interest in anybody, immediately starts flirting with this woman old enough to be his grandmother in a fashion that was so out of the blue, I had to put the book down. I laughed so hard. He reacts similarly to an Imran in training named Francesca, and an Imran we knew was dead when we met her, Miss Turn, and I just have to ask, did anyone else read that and think it was so out of character that it sounded more like he was trying to prove a point rather than actually liking them? Because you're telling me that the kid who willingly slept in a broom closet once and went on a rant about these Imran crushes, ending with, "There's nothing revolting about love, you Victorian prudes. The chapter before Horace is revealed as gay did that because he likes women." Exclusively the women that, as we find out in that rant from him, it's literally illegal for him to get married to, even if he could. Likely story, but that and the comment Ransom Riggs made about him having a crush on Emma in the first book, I'm just not convinced, kid. Straight people don't have to prove they're straight, you know. I know comp pet when I see it. My biggest issue with Enoch O'Connor is his movie counterpart, and oh my god, I hate how dirty he was done in the movie. Finley McMillan is hot, yes, I know. However, and I cannot say this enough, Tim Burton, I should not have to tell my favorite fictional character of all time to shut up every time he is on screen. Movie Enoch is insufferable to sit through. The biggest example of this is the Victor scene with Bronwyn. In the movie, Fiona tells him that Bronwyn doesn't like what he's doing, and he essentially says, "Tough shit, Bronwyn's not here." In the book, Bronwyn is there, and he teases her, tossing around the idea of bringing Victor back until she genuinely gets upset about it, and then he completely drops the topic. Refuses to even entertain it again. They have a rocky relationship a lot of the time, but he obviously cares about her feelings and even states that he can't stand to see her so choked. Not in the movie, though. In the movie, he could not give two shits about anyone but himself, and don't even get me started on an Olive. It doesn't make sense. It's flat out toxic because of him. He's a horrible partner, and it's so obvious that you want to shake Olive and tell her to run. I don't trust whoever had this idea, especially since in the books, Enoch and Olive are 13 and 9. Fucking gross. And once Baron arrives to be the actual villain, Enoch gets to be a background character, like everyone else. God, I hate this movie. Honestly, there's so much of the script that I had to cut, I can make a full 10-minute video on this kid alone. What can I say? I love this little bastard and his inability to shut his goddamn mouth for once in his life. It's chaotic as hell and probably the most entertaining part of these books for me. On that note, though, the next video is on my second favorite character here, and are we sure they aren't boyfriends? They're not? Fine, I'll shut up about them. Until Horace's video, at least. See ya!